is Aryya Gangopadhyay. So this is the poster that we presented in the April PI meeting, and it's a collaborative proposal. So there are four institutions actually. UMBC is the lead, and then we have got Towson University, and we have got Bowie State University, and we have got the University of Baltimore. So four universities together, but University of Baltimore being a new university had to do a subcontract through UMBC. So which is why you'll just see 3 awards instead of 4. Okay, so the combination of backgrounds are from information systems, a couple of faculties, 3 faculty from information systems, then there are a couple from computer science at UMBC, and then one from Towson is in CIS. Seema Iyer from UB is actually an urban planner, and she's, I think, in the business school, but she does a lot of different types of work, and her students come from applied math to applied IT to business schools backgrounds. And Sharad is a computer science professor at Bowie State. Okay, so you can see a little bit of a picture here, and then there are different projects that students are participating and have already produced some results. I'll talk a little bit about the projects, but essentially there are 3 things that we are doing. One is module-based teaching, where students can actually learn from teaching modules, and I'll talk about that. The second one is by getting involved with the community in the Baltimore area in particular, talk about that as well. And the last one is to get involved in research projects. So the 3 together we are hoping form a complete whole experience for the students. So this is the project structure. We haven't really put together the advisory board yet, but we are in the process of doing that. UMBC is a coordinating and implementing organization, and then the 3 universities that I mentioned. And then there are quite a few local organizations in the city of Baltimore, some private organizations, and some government as well. So it's a combination of multiple stakeholders, and we in fact did a workshop in July, and there are 600 participants from the Baltimore area from these 3 sectors, just to discuss about the different types of issues that can be solved using data science in the city of Baltimore. Our goal obviously is to really expand and make sure that these are applicable to other cities across the country. And I've started talking a little bit with people from Portland, the Portland area, because they are also doing smart city projects. But the hope is it's going to expand. Okay, so this is sort of the types of topics that we're covering in the modules. And so at the center, we have the data science core, and there are 25 students across 4 universities that are participating. And there are a few volunteers who are not actually paid, but or cannot be paid because they are not US citizens. Excuse me. But they're also participating. So around 80 is my guess of the number of students, not 80, 30 is my guess in terms of the number of students that are really participating in the data science core. So the larger circle right above the yellow, which is orange, I believe, it talks a little bit about the different challenges with data science projects. You know, we talked to many different colleagues, and they said that one of the biggest challenges is really to clean the data and get it into a format where after which you can actually analyze it. So the interesting, novel, exciting things are all in the analytics, but analytics cannot be done until and unless you have got the clean data, and you have also got, you know, no missing attributes or no missing data. If you have any, you have to impute them. Before that, there's no point even trying to do that, and there are major challenges in doing that. So in terms of the analysis, we are including geospatial analysis, and students have already done some projects on that. How to deal with big data, which is not necessarily just the size of the data, but also the nature in which the data arrives in different formats at different speeds from different modalities and sources and things like that. Machine learning and deep learning is a major part of this venture. And then virtual reality, and I'll give you some examples of that. And then at the top, we have the different types of applications. So transportation, we are actually collaborating with the Maryland Department of Transportation and DOT, State Highway Administration. Education is a big factor, and we are not actually right now doing anything on education per se, but how people can have more access to schooling depending on where they live and things like that, and also mobility. So housing and healthcare are the two other issues. The one that I did not mention is cybersecurity, because as we get more and more systems implemented in smart cities, for example, smart streetlights, or even smart garbage cans, or smart buildings and things like that, the attack surface, number of ways to attack increases exponentially. So it is very important to be able to figure out whether we are also securing the cyber infrastructure that we are building. And that is part of the cybersecurity, which is not listed here. So I said a couple of things on that. So in terms of the education, we are in the process of building the modules right now, and the modules will be tested on the first cohort of students in the fall of 2020. And then eventually the question is, how do we expand it? So we are planning to do a badging system. It's a special badge for smart cities, data science in smart cities, which doesn't exist right now. There's a badging program. We have to design a logo and all that, but is offered by the University of System of Maryland. Okay, so I think there are 13 campuses. I think the vast majority of the campuses are participants to this. Some of them are listed here. And the idea is that it will be available to undergraduate students to get a badge, essentially. So once they take the modules, do the assignments and the quizzes, they will be eligible to get a badge. And this will be a holistic education as it pertains to smart cities. The other big piece that we have is community engagement. And this is not a video, but we had, so BINIA, which stands for Baltimore Neighborhood Indicator Alliance, is sort of a center that works with all of the city councils and city government, many of them at least, and then some within the state and some even outside the state, both private as well as public, to figure out what their needs are, what are the most major challenges, and then how can we actually solve them with data science projects, and then how do we disseminate the information? How do we make the users actually use them and gather information from them about the usability and usefulness of those systems? So the user participation is very, very strong, a very strong part of this project. And like I said, there was a Baltimore Data Week in which over a 5-day period, we, virtual obviously this year, there were as many as 600 participants from all over the state of Maryland, many from Baltimore City and some outside as well, who came together and did a lot of brainstorming. We also had students present some of their work that they have done. And after their presentation, we kind of talked to them, and then we had panel discussions and breakout sessions. We talked to the students, and they actually said that they learned a lot of skills by doing the projects that they did not have before. Okay, so a multidisciplinary team of data science students is what we are looking for in terms of the projects. So this is the other thing, that we are coming with a curriculum map, and on the one hand, this is still a work in progress. In the rows, we have the various different educational objectives. Okay, for example, critical analysis and thinking, written and oral and verbal communication, technology competency, and things like that. So this is not a complete list, and this is very much a work in progress, which will be completed by this year. And in the columns, we have the different modules as well as activities. So as you can see, there are the core activities and projects which are participating in the communities and also participating in research projects. And then we are planning to use edX, which is an open source software for educational purposes, and it's non-profit, and that's, I think, the distinguishing feature from Coursera, for instance. So we are planning to use edX. We're actually going through the training right now to port our modules into edX platforms, and then it will be freely available to certainly to everyone in the USM system, but our goal is also to make it open nationwide and perhaps even worldwide. So these are some of the research examples, and this is just a small subset of the research that has been done by the students in the past couple of semesters. So on the top left is the different types of crimes, because unfortunately, crime is one of the major issues in Baltimore City. But so a student actually collected data and showed the number of crimes and the types of crimes in histograms, as you can see, before and after COVID. Okay, and there are some interesting patterns. So I won't go through the details right now, but students have really found some interesting patterns in terms of the crime before and after COVID took place. The one on the top right corner is about drugs, and we're also extending to human trafficking. Although human trafficking is not really a big problem in this region, it is more of a problem in the border states. But so we are working with a local, law enforcement agency called HIDA. There are 33 HIDAs across the United States. There's one in Maryland, and we're working with them. Now these agencies, they're very good at catching the criminals, so to speak, but they have not really expanded their scope to social media. And as social media becomes more and more popular, and there are more and more, particularly the younger generation depend on social media, there's a lot of drug dealing, which is at the retailing end of this whole system that happens using social media. So our plan is really to combine the databases that they already have and also get some information from, FinCEN, which is financial, essentially these are money laundering, which is also related to, because once drug dealers get the money, they have to launder it to make sure that they can use them. And then, so there are about a dozen different databases that will be connected, and then we're going to do some analytics on that. So one of the students and one PhD student and several undergraduate students have already done some work in this particular domain of trying to identify the websites that are doing drug dealing and also geolocate them. The bottom left corner shows an example of a virtual reality project that Sharad Sharma is doing, whose picture you can see here, in terms of, for example, virtual reality for building evacuation. Because the buildings and, particularly older cities have got designs that are not really, optimized to modern day living. And so there are different types of risks, fire and other types of things, maybe terrorist attacks or, shooting and stuff like that, that can create a pretty bad situation. And so if you can design, if you can really see what would a virtual evacuation look like, we can perhaps give them better directions in terms of improving the designs, and particularly when new buildings come up. And the bottom right corner is a project that we have just started with the Maryland Department of Transportation. What they want us to do is really to figure out as early as possible, as quickly as possible, if a traffic accident has occurred. Now, there are sensor networks with automatic detectors in various regions, but they don't cover everything. And also some of the sensors are unreliable. They go down, malfunction, and they're not able to collect the data and send it to any local, any remote, any server, central server. There are also drones that collect images and then try to analyze what the traffic situation is. Unfortunately, it takes somewhere between half an hour to 1 hour after an accident has occurred for the police to be notified and come to the accident location, police and ambulances. So what we are trying to do is trying to figure out if we can even predict if an accident might occur or an accident situation is occurring. That will save a lot of lives and also will help in resolving traffic congestion problems. So we are combining multiple modalities, data coming from social media, data coming from crowdsourcing applications like Waze, data coming from sensors, as well as from drones, to see if you can put together a system that can combine all of this data and then analyze it. And then we're also going to generate some data. We're going to generate using generative adversarial networks to create situations synthetically. And this really fits very nicely with the South Data Hub's synthetic cities, because lots of situations can be quite dangerous, but they can be studied in a virtual environment, and we can learn from them and make it as real as possible, as close to the real world as possible, and then take measures, be prepared for it, and identify situations and detect actual incidents. So that's the last thing is, so we did, in addition to obviously the collaboration with South Data Hub, and also Portland State University, we started a collaboration recently with Tufts University. This started in the NSFPI meeting in April, where Lenore Cohen, who is the principal investigator, they have a Tripods Award, and they are very interested in working with us. We are talking about student exchange programs, students from UMBC and Towson and UB and Bowie State can actually go over to Tufts. Some of the Tufts students can come over to UM and all of these other universities and spend time in our labs, and thereby we can kind of expand. And we are learning a lot of new challenges that we really didn't think about when it comes to data science from them as well. So that's in a nutshell what we have been doing, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you have. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. And so I see that some people have asked questions in the Etherpad. And yeah, thank you for that talk. It was really well done, and about the project. So if you can click on the little, click on your picture and look at the little, or click on my picture, Aryya, and look at the little 3 dots that are next to it. You can make me host again. That way I can give the host over to the next speaker. But if you would mind going in and looking at the questions people have asked, there were some notes, some people were taking notes on what you were saying, but also some, thank you, Patty, she put some resources in the chat and tried to transfer it into the Etherpad. So if others have resources that are relevant to what we were talking about, you can add it there. Or if you have answers to the questions, it'd be great to answer them there too. So we'll keep going and have the next speaker is Dr. Mantravati, and he will introduce himself and also talk about a project where he is doing a project-based teaching and what they are looking at doing. So I will transfer if you can unmute and introduce yourself, and then I will transfer you the possibility to share your screen.
Thank you. Let me see if I can share my screen. It hasn't let me just done so yet.
Yeah, it says are you joining from a phone? It won't let me make you the host.
I am using my audio from a phone.
Okay. Are you also joined in a computer as well? Okay. Here.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I will find you again. So go ahead and introduce yourself, and I will find your other.
Sure. I'm Dr. Mantravati, and I have past a decade of experience in online teaching in data science and in big data. I'm a health economist, and I will be discussing today about more of the real-world applications of big data in teaching, as using as an example of the Quality Matters National Certification for online teaching, which is going to be especially relevant these days with trying to deliver online quality learning, especially with COVID. We need to really be able to create trustworthy standards on the expectations of how exactly to create the most effective online course. For, in this case, we'll be talking about healthcare analytics and data science, especially in health informatics, and how exactly we can provide a most optimal teaching approach and different ways about how Quality Matters certification will help you meet that particular creation of an effective course. And I'll be giving some examples for both a graduate as well as a undergraduate course, and different ways that you can provide more of an interactive experience. In terms of sharing my screen, I'm still unable to do so.
Yeah, it has you only on a phone. I don't see you a second time, so you can't share your screen from a phone.
From a phone? Okay, so why don't I switch over to a computer audio? Okay, so let me do so. One quick second. Thank you. Let's see if it'll let me do that now.
Okay, so while we're doing that, I'm gonna take a look at the Etherpad. Okay, so I think one problem may be that I think Aryya, you may not have made me host again. That might be the problem. Okay.
I'm sorry, how do I do that? I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, so you have to hover your mouse over my picture where I'm talking.
Okay.
And then 3 dots should appear on the right-hand side. So it says mute and 3 dots. If you click there, it can make me the host.
So you are on the screen. I can see your face there.
Yeah. So hover your mouse over my face.
Okay.
And then click on the 3 dots that appear.
I don't see any dots here.
In your upper right corner, there should be 3.
Of the box that I'm in. Yeah.
Of the box that you're in, okay. Okay, I see. Make host, okay, got it.
Okay.
Thank you. All right.